allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will start with introductions. Why don't we start with you?
Oh, thank you. How about, who are you?
Okay. Andrew Karras, City of Crown Point, City Council.
Mitch Barlogan, Nursing staff.
Flor Baum, nursing staff.
Frank Jacob, Town of Dyer.
Brian Lane, Town of Dyer.
John Olmsted, Town of Sherrville.
John Yelpers, Town of Taylor.
Jerry Sweats, St. John.
Mark Waddell, Town of Chesterton.
Sylvia Collins, the Assistant Director of Planning for Michigan City.
Shannon Easton, Park Department, Michigan City.
Kevin Cobb, First Group Engineer.
Dean Button, City of Hammond.
Donald Officer for Engineer.
Beth Schrader, City of Valparaiso.
Scott Pruitt, District Engineering.
And who are you?
I'm not really here, but I'm Tom Warner, Executive Director at Nursing. Thanks for coming today.
Hey, who are you, Kevin?
I'm Kevin Flynn, I work in nursing.
Oh, good.
I'm listening along to make sure everything's good on live streaming end.
You're live on YouTube, just so you know.
The whole world is on.
The whole world is.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 18th meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll go into PED.
Yeah, okay. I'll take it up at the podium. The first thing is the Greenways and Blueways map application. This has been an ongoing saga for us at NERC. What we try to do is do this app, phone app for our very popular Greenways and Blueways map, and we've been trying to produce this for the last 4 years, one way or the other. We're very close to getting it finalized. We haven't announced it publicly, although it is online, although we're not making it public because it's still not cataloged in the iPhone and in the Android app stores. So what good is an app if you can't get it? So we're still waiting for that download to occur. Didn't know how long it took both of those mega companies to kind of work through, but we're getting closer. I am pretty confident we'll have this launched by the end of March, not April. And as for the paper map, we are going to continue with that probably next year. We might have a release this year, but we'd like to do that kind of in even number of years. And that also includes some sponsorships and what have you. But I know that's always a very popular item, and we want to continue with that. But we also want to maybe give the app a year to kind of see how popular that becomes and how many downloads and what have you. Of course, everything's happy and free. So any questions on the app?
Not appear to be any.
Okay. All right, I'll just segue into the next segment, Mr. Chairman. So the Old Plank Road Trail, if you look on the screens, this is a website that has been established by our consultants. And as for a background, the Old Plank Road is the trail that, it's a 22-mile trail right now that comes from Joliet to Chicago Heights. And we, as well as Cook County, as well as the communities in southern Cook County, are looking to extend it here to Northwest Indiana into Dyer and Sherrville. We hired a firm, Civil Tech Engineering out of Illinois. They have a few subs as well that we are working with closely on making this connection happen. So I'm just kind of bringing it to your attention. It's oprtstudy.org. That's how you connect to this website. And right now, there's not a lot on there, but let me go to a map that kind of shows you the route. It's an interactive map. Yeah, okay, I understand. And what it's doing here, there are people that you can comment on live on the map. There's a legend that gives you an idea of what all these symbols mean. I'm going to get rid of the legend just so you see the route. It's right here, as you can see, in the kind of the red, pink area. And as I try to get, let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Forget it. If you take a look at that side by Chicago Heights, all the way there, my cursor's going crazy. You can see things get a little cattywampus, to say the least. There is a steel mill, an active steel mill there, and warehousing facilities. So the old Norfolk Southern Line, which is consistent all the way from Cherville into Chicago Heights, pretty much stops cold. So we have to have an on-road route to consider, possible cycle track or side path in that vicinity to get it back to where the trail commences yet again at the Park District Forest Preserve there, going west into Joliet eventually. So we have that bit of area to work through, and we're going to work on a preferred alternative with the studies consultants, probably get that finalized for public review within the next month or two. And like I said, if you stay close to the website here, you can kind of follow along with the study and, of course, add your comments if you wish. If I bring it back, see, this is, yeah. Again, this has been going on probably for the last few months now with the consultants, working with the local communities, having it online for public review and public comment, and that's where you get all these exclamation points and other types of icons that appear because of comments that have already occurred. So we're just trying to make sure that all of this is being taken into account. I'm gonna just, yeah. So we talk about different challenges on different routes and different alternatives, but right now the corridor is pretty free and clear from a physical perspective. It even goes under 394 with the old bridge, and they built a bridge on the US 30 corridor, an actual tunnel that goes over the abandoned corridor into Dyer. So the facilities are all there. It's just there's a few jogs and zigs and zags that got to work through. But if it can be completed, you're probably talking about another 14 to 15 miles to the old Plank Road Trail that would connect the Pensy Greenway all the way to the city of Joliet, nonstop. And if anyone's been on the old Plank Road Trail, it's quite the ride. There's a couple communities that it traverses through, which have taken full advantage of. Frankfurt comes to mind. If you haven't been there, well, you'd remember it if you were. It's quite the scene down there with shops, restaurants, parks, and all sorts of activities in their downtown, and they've focused their downtown along the old plank. So, any questions on that project?
What a great project.
Thank you, Dean.
Outstanding.
Outstanding. Thank you. All right, and I'll just bleed into the last part here. I don't have anything to show you regarding the 2050 plan active transportation element. I'm just letting you know that it is still under development right now by our consultant, our RDG planners out of Omaha, Nebraska. They're also doing the land use element. The 2050 plus plan is just exactly as it sounds. We're just kind of adding value to the 2050 plan. We put a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of planning into that 2050 document. You can see a lot of the elements that come out here. There's still a poster there that talks about how we broke it down into different phases and how we're trying to reach the region in different ways. And so those will most likely carry through those goals and objectives, but we're trying to kind of fortify some other transportation elements like freight, transit, active transportation, and as well as land use. We're going to look at some of the roadways as well and get into that in a little bit more detail. At least in this meeting, you're at a 3PC meeting, so the active transportation element, I'm excited to say it's going to be probably the deepest dive that we've ever taken into trying to truly make this a non-motorized area. We've been very focused on trails for many years for good reason. We have a lot of corridors to work with, and that's been very successful. But trying to get people safely around the region outside of trails is the issue. We have the old comments that I always hear. It's like, okay, we're going to build these trails and everyone will stay off the road. So that's not how it works. People should have the ability to access most any destination safely by bike or by foot. That's the goal of any good region. And we want to make sure that we can at least aim towards that. No, we're not looking to put bikes on Route 30 or 41, but there are other roadways we could work with that are nearby those corridors that can get people through this region as well. And there's a number of them I can mention. We have a subcommittee that has been working, and several of you in the room are on that subcommittee. RDG, Marty Schukert, who is our principal lead, rolled out an idea here with many different roadways that can be focused on. And a number of items and really a number of design treatments can be applied depending on the roadway, depending on the urban or rural context, depending on the amount of traffic that is on that road right now. And so there's a plethora of different treatments that we want to bring to bear here for communities to employ. Again, NERC doesn't have any regulatory authority to tell you to do anything, but we like to advise and inspire, and at least give you that opportunity in your communities to say, wow, that's good, that we never thought of that. Or, hey, we've been thinking of that, why don't you put it in your plan? We've had a lot of back and forth like that. So we hope after that is released, and we're looking to release this plan in full come May, because the feds want us to have this done by May for the transportation element. We're hoping that we can work with communities on employing some of these, which would be complete street strategies, or in our case, living street strategies with green infrastructure, bioswales, trees, and the like within these corridors to make it a safer environment for bike and peds. So that's the goal, and we hope that all of you will work with us on those standards as we make it through. I think to date we only have maybe 3-4 communities of the 41 that actually have a complete streets policy, so there's a lot of work to be done there. And so a lot of focus, and we're hoping we can continue that through. And again, taking such a deep dive into our roadway network is long overdue, and I'm excited to have that happen. Dean, Denny.
Will that be released here at this committee first?
Yes, we will look to, yes, our next meeting is in April, and I'm hoping to have that out well before then for a draft document. We're hoping to get the draft document of the entire 2050 plus plan out by late March. We need to have it reviewed for public comment, and then of course has to bring it before the May full commission meeting at that time for approval. So we have some benchmarks we have to meet, and we want to make sure that we have this active transportation subcommittee that is looking at these in detail. And it's a pretty large committee, like 20 members of the committee, but these are elected officials, these are also public officials and other engineers, consultants in the region that are very familiarized with non-motorized planning. I think we have you on that as well. So we'll make sure that they see it, review it, and then we'll get it up to the broad committee as we go along. Any other questions?
Mitch, real quick, what's the destination that's on that old plank trail, do you know?
What are we speaking of?
That blue, it says destination.
Oh, this here?
Yes.
What is that? Yes, please extend the old Plank Road Trail. Again, it's a comment.
Oh, destination.
So people are just like,
Okay.
yeah, someone threw a destination
They
comment
use
out
their own
there.
destination.
These are general comments that are starting to pop up on here. If I go to some of them,
I thought it was a real destination.
well, I mean, it really is. That is a north-south cut of the Thorn Creek Forest Preserve over there, the Cook County Forest Preserve network that, again, this trail will connect into, which, again, goes north-south, east-west, and all over. So it will be a great hub once we're in there. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move on to pedal. Thank you, Mitch.
Sure. All right, so continuing my dialogue here. All right, as a preface, let me get up the scores here. A subcommittee actually of those who applied under the NOFA, which is the Notice of Funding Availability process, we had a peer review, as we always have, and I do appreciate all those that attended the peer review. What you have on the screen right now, and hopefully you can see most of that, maybe I can blow it up a little bit here without losing everything. Okay, Michigan City, you have 58, right? We'll get down to everything. So what we did was bring in all the applicants who came in under the Multi-Use Trails and Complete Streets program to review them with their peers. It was a virtual meeting, and again, I appreciate people hanging out. I think we had about a 2-hour meeting, and we had some pretty good dialogue on a few projects in particular that came in, but overall, we think we did quite well with the review, and I think most people are satisfied with how it came out. Now, what we're trying to do here at this meeting is we've done a lot of the weed and feed, so to speak, at that peer review. It kind of cuts out doing all this during the pedal and paddle meeting. It's not a committee of the whole. It's always best to work with the peers, because then we can actually open up the applications and look at them in some detail. The staff, myself, did some review on this ahead of time, kind of smooth the water, so to speak, because I'm going through there to make sure that they're applying and they're making sure that they're showing their work on all these different standards and all throughout the scoring of their applications. And I will say, the people that are in this room, most of you in this room were on the peer review committee, and I'm happy to say that pretty much I received all the information I needed to finalize the scores that are up on the screen right now. There are a couple scores here that I have outlined, I think, in red color, that I'm going to talk to these communities about in a little bit more detail if they're here to discuss it, based on my review of the project. There was one outstanding project, and that was Valparaiso and their Creative District Trail. The committee at that time thought that was more of a complete streets than a multi-use trails application, and asked the city of Valparaiso, that's Beth here, to please resubmit, and they did, and they came in at a 76, and I have reviewed it in full, and it is 76 points. All of it has been justified, and everything has been done. I did let Beth know during the peer review that if we had any questions or concerns about any of your scoring, that we would actually work with her as a committee of the whole. And we really don't have anything to talk about. I mean, she did an outstanding job in resubmitting and the quick turnaround that they had on this. And so I do appreciate their hard work in getting that done, and they are rightfully placed at 76 points. As for the other scores, everything else came in accordingly. What I usually like to do at these meetings is make it really short and sweet for everybody, to go through the application, to simply ask the LPA, the applicant, if they are okay with the score, and then we move on. And if we need to talk about it in a bit more detail, I can get into the application itself, and we can talk it over as a group. Again, peers make the decision, not the staff. We recommend, but we want to make sure that everyone is able to at least be fully heard, and we get these scores locked in. Just so you know, next steps, once we get these finalized, once this committee actually gets these scores in order, this will go to Charles. Charles will then kind of put this in the batch of all the applications that have come in with all the projects that have come in, and then they'll be ranked accordingly for funding purposes. So just because you might end up at number 2, 3, 4 here doesn't mean you're not going to get funded. It just depends on all the other. So I can't answer that question. Everyone, do I get funded? I don't know. I mean, obviously you're at the top of the list. Good chance you're going to get funded. If you're at the bottom of the list, not so good. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I can't answer that. Again, we recalibrated the entire process about 4 years ago, and we tried to actually prioritize the type of project as we went down the line. And at the top of that list are trails and complete streets. So it's very likely that a lot of these projects will see the light of day for funding in 27 and 28. Again, I am not completely confident with that. Just so you know, in both years, we have about $25 million to work with for roadway projects. And that's roadway projects. It doesn't include the transit projects. And then I think that's just for Lake and Porter, keep it in mind. We have about $2.5 million a year for just LaPorte County. So LaPorte County, you're pretty much going to get funded. You're the only, Michigan City is pretty much the only game in town in LaPorte County. So, but we wanted to make sure everyone went through this process fair and square. So again, if you have questions, feel free to ask me as we go along here. Just an open dialogue. As you can see from the agenda, this is pretty much it. I mean, this is kind of the heavy lift. If we get through this fast enough, I've got a fun video on bikes in Amsterdam. Love it. But so you didn't exactly drive here just for a half hour. I'll give you a little bit of fun. But that aside, we'll go through it real quick. I'm going to start from the top and go down here with the multi-use trail submissions. Cedar Lake, your Founder Square was at, we came in at 52. Are you fine with 52? All right. See how easy this is? Town of Dyer resubmitted. Again, your questions were all answered, and they actually came in and brought their match over 30%. So they were able to bring more money into the pot, working with the town of Sherrill, who also came in with a letter of financial commitment. That score has risen to 76. Are you okay with your score? Yes, we are. All right, there you go. Hammond, you have two projects here. You have the Marquette Greenway first, 150th to the EC limits. You were up to 92 points. Are you good with
Yes,
your
sir.
score? And how about with your NIPSCO trail? Are you good with 65?
Yes.
Okay. Portage, is Portage in the room? Uh-oh. Portage actually was at 74 points. When we reviewed them at the peer review level, they really didn't have any outstanding issues, so I think they were fine with it, hence probably why they're not in the room right now. See, we're done with multi-use trails. Isn't that painless? Okay, now let's get to the complete streets. We'll start again alphabetically here with Cedar Lake. I'll just talk about your three projects in order here. West Lake Shore Drive, we good? How about the 133rd Avenue
Yes.
and Morris Street sidewalks?
Yes.
Now, you did answer this, Don, so thank you. I think it was 2 point,
It's 7,700, the total length.
7,700?
Yeah.
1.3 miles?
1.3.
Okay, there you go. All right, so their amount of sidewalks there is 1.3 miles, so thank you, Cedar Lake, for that. All right, so we get to East Chicago. I think we have East Chicago in the room. Hello, Julio. I'm going to go to, we have you at 78. We brought you down to 72. I want to make sure that we are in line with that, so I'm going to bring up their application real quick. Okay, so I'm going to find the areas that we had conflict with, Julio. Your trip generator map that came in, I only had, I know I'm being picky on this, I only had 9 generators, not 10. So I brought you from 8 to 5 points. Okay? Sorry to bust your bones. I brought you from 8 to 5 on that. And then going down the list, I have you at, I think that might be it. Did I missed it? Okay. Maybe if I took these glasses off.
It was
Okay.
5 and 2.
Two.
But they're
There,
12.
missed it.
Push it 12.
12? Okay, hold on. I don't have a real mouse. Oh, yeah, I didn't even do that. Okay, the adherence to complete streets, yeah, we brought that down from 5 to 2 as well, but he knew that from the last meeting. I think there was another one that I had questions on. Well,
That's it.
I think that's it. So we're down to 72 points. Are you okay with that, Julio? Or do you want to challenge?
Maybe I said something more, but you need
Well, I looked at the map in detail, and you actually identified, I think, 7. I added a couple more parks, and you came up to 9, so I just couldn't find 10 out of that. I mean, this is your committee. If this committee wants to give you those points, that's up to them. But I'm letting the committee know that he has 9 generators within a half mile.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just trying to play Joe Friday on this. So we'll go to the next project here. 72 is now solid for East Chicago. And then, but I can revisit it too, Julio. I'll take another revisit of it as well, and we'll take one more scan. Again, if it trips the wire, you get the points. But at this point, you're at 72. Okay.
I'll try to do something better for you.
Okay, appreciate that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't want to say that he has to recalculate. If it's there, it's there. It's just what it is. So, we'll go to Munster now. Is Munster in the room? Oh, hello there. Hi, Jill.
Hello.
You slipped in. Okay, let's talk about your project. All right, there was a shortage. I did short you some points on something here. The trip generators, from what I saw there, I did not see 10 or more generators within the area that you were applying for, so I brought you down from 8 to 5 on that one. Okay? And then, I don't know if there's anything else of note here. I don't know why, I think we brought you down before on something as well in our previous thing. I think it was the adherence to complete streets guidance that we thought it wasn't substantial, it was just basic complete streets adherence. We brought you down from 5 to 2 at that point. We talked about that at the peer review, and you seem to be all right with that.
Okay.
So if that's where we're at, we end up with 70 points off of from your original assessment. I hate to say, are you okay with that? But are you okay with that? Okay. And the city of Valparaiso, are you okay with your score? Okay, very good. And the last one on the list is Michigan City. You were at 56, we brought you to 58 on a re-review of your application. I know you brought it at 61, but are you okay with that score? Okay, so there you go. No worries, right? See, Andrew, I make it easy. But I really want to thank peers. That's the big thing. Again, the staff can do and we can recommend what we want. It comes down to the peers working with their other peers on making this work. So I really appreciate the camaraderie between each other on all this and working together and helping each other out. There were some scores that actually got added in because, some of the instructions were a little vague. Every application cycle, we try to, get this thing, more and more detailed and a lot more clear, and we're still working on it. So we still have some issues with the application, and we hope to go through another fine-tooth comb. Again, I will stress this most heavily. We had an application review back in August, only 4 people showed up. So I'm telling you, that's where we need you. Because then people are like, why are you doing it? This is all we can do. Again, we can't lure you here with pizza, we're trying, and no alcohol is involved. So, we're doing our best to bring people to these meetings, but we definitely need participation. It is huge. And so when we go through this the next iteration, we'll make it again clear, and we'll go from there. So as it stands, again, these are the scores that will be making it through. For the multi-use trail project, our highest scoring project is the city of Hammond, the Marquette Greenway. And then the second one would be the town of Dyer. Third would be the Marquette Greenway in Portage. Fourth is Hammond, Nipsco, and last is Cedar Lake. But again, don't fret. Don't fret. And then we get to the complete streets. The number 1 scoring project is the city of Valparaiso. The number 2 project here would be Chicago. Number 3 is right on its heels, is in Munster. 4, Cedar Lake, and you got the Cedar Lakes all the way through there, so we got to work with you guys over there. And then Michigan City stands alone as the number 1 project in LaPorte County. So congrats.
We just have more points. Just make it look good.
Just saying that, what's the purpose? We'll take point.
Whose line is it anyway? Points don't matter.
So these will be forwarded to Charles, and again, he will whip up his magic. The TPC is going to review the draft TIP, or Transportation Improvement Program, for fiscal years 27 and 28 on February 28th. There will be a mailer that goes out. Floor is our staff for the TPC, and so she'll be getting that out a week before the meeting on the 21st. And at that time, you'll be able to review the tip and come into the meeting with questions and what have you. So I would say please keep your antennas up for that, and if you have questions ahead of that, please let me know, and we can go from there. And again, like East Chicago and even Munster, that might have some questions on their application, we can still work with you on that and see if those trip generators maybe are a little different than what I'm seeing. But again, this is what I'm reviewing in detail from what you have submitted to me. Okay, so any questions before I'm done with this? Again, can't thank you enough for your participation. It's all yours, Mr. Pinkerman.
We'll move on to panel. Do we have an update?
Well, actually, let me talk about the Next Level Trails program.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm going to do this while I walk,
You were
because
done.
someone did send me a paddle update, but I'm going to update it while I'm walking here. So, Next Level Trails, you may have heard that Governor Holcomb is now looking to add another $50 million to the program in this current round with the General Assembly. He has had success getting as much as $150 million already approved by the General Assembly, and now he's on his way to make this a $200 million program. The investment is, without a doubt, it is unprecedented, and it has put just literally hundreds of miles of trails on the ground in the state of Indiana. And we've received quite a few of those dollars as well. We are waiting for, first of all, the announcement. I believe we're looking for the announcement to phase 3 of the last round of Next Level Trails. And then whenever this other $50 million gets approved, we're looking for that later this year as well. The money that's involved with this latest round coming out is ARPA money, which makes it a little tricky. And that's probably why the Indiana DNR is kind of holding back a bit. They are the managing entity on this matter. But I'm not sure how much money will be on the table for this last round. It could be $50 to $60 million. But we at NERC will be pushing very hard for your communities to apply. Even if you get into this program, we're still, Cedar Lake, we're still gonna, if you get funded here, I would still advise you to go for the Next Level Trails program because it's faster, easier. Do I need to say anything else? Okay. And of course, the money that we just talked about right here will not be available for your use till 2027 at the earliest. Calendar year 26. So keep that in mind. If you do get approved in this third round of Next Level Trails, whenever it comes out, and you get selected this year, at least by the summer, you could have a project in the ground next year. Next year. I mean, that's how quick this money was. It's state money. It's not, no issue there. So any questions on the Next Level Trails? I hear none. So I'm going to see if I got this update from a gentleman. Okay, the NIPWA report. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read this from Rob Albrecht. He is the president of the board for NIPWA, Northwest Indiana Paddling Association, for those new to this group. So here it is. NIPWA, and this is his 2022 report. They had 6 public events on area waterways, 3 classes, and 6 special paddles for area organizations. Events usually sold out. With DNR permission and support of the National Park Service, they kept Trail Creek and Chesterton Porter sections of the Little Cal open. They also opened up the lower section of the East Branch and Salt Creek as far as I-94. So in 2023, they plan with the support of Porter County Stormwater Management and National Park Service to clear the Little Cal from the Heron Rookery to Lake Michigan. New landings upstream and downstream and a portage around the Praxair Dam in Burns Harbor. That's about time. And they are in the planning stage. Another landing is being planned in Porter when the Waverly Bridge is rebuilt. The Burns Harbor and Porter locations are adjacent to bike pedestrian paths, making these hubs of non-motorized recreation. They also have begun discussions about revitalizing the Lake Michigan Water Trail, a project that stalled out in Indiana some years ago while Michigan and Wisconsin moved forward. In February, we plan our 2023 events and classes. We expect to repeat some of our most popular events, plus add new ones, especially docket-led tours, which we started 2 years ago and were very well received. Finally, we are keeping our eye on access and conditions at other waterways, especially Deep River and Salt Creek. Hello, George. Hi, George. He's
Pardon my turn.
That's okay. Those people might have a problem. I'm fine with it. Okay, so let me just explain. We put out this Greenways and Blueways plan. You've heard about it. About 15 years ago. It was the first time that we took a real deep dive, no pun intended, into all the waterways in Northwest Indiana to find out how paddleable they were, how they could be navigated. We found out that many of our streams, many of our creeks, many of our ditches are actually very paddleable, to say the least. And although NIPWA here, as you heard, is knee-deep in the work of the Little Cal Trail here at the National Park, the East Branch, we've got several waterways throughout the entire region that can be worked on, even if it's a short paddle, even if you have a mile paddle. Best thing about water trails is that they're already there. You just got to get to them, okay? One particular, I'm going to look right at Frank across the room because I am a Dyer resident now, and Frank's from Dyer, was Brian. So what I want to let you guys know is that you have Plum Creek, right, or Park Ditch. And when we paddled that many years ago, we had a great time. It's just getting there is a real challenge. It's very deeply inside, it's way down there, but we found some areas that you could possibly put some launches on either end, and people could just paddle a mile upstream for an hour or so and enjoy nature. You're far away from anything above you. I know you got Route 30 over there, and you don't hear it, you don't see it, you're just down there. So, and that applies to almost any other community. I could go and talk about all sorts of different creeks that we really had a great time discovering. I even talked well about the cart that almost killed me in East Chicago in the Grand Canyon. That's okay, that's a story for another time. The lone cart that we found. But that aside, I mean, all these rivers and waterways, we want to open that up and give people another way. Of course, you're not going to paddle to work. We understand that this is purely a recreation standard, but again, we're working towards that as well to again give people in this region another reason to enjoy it and get out there and discover their area. So any questions for Nipawin at this
I
time?
just have one additional comment.
Yep.
They have scheduled their Trail Creek Fun Float this year. They're now launching out of Hanson Park instead of Washington Park, which is great for our park department because we have way too much traffic and congestion. This year it'll be June 3rd. It's a Saturday. It used to be held on Sundays, but this year it'll be Saturday. So
Excellent.
come on out and enjoy the river.
Indeed, I think we should. Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Video.
Yes, I am going to do the video because all of you were so nice. We got through it so quickly. I'm going to give you some eye candy.
Mitch has guaranteed that this is going to be the best part of the meeting.
Right? That's the best part, was just getting through the scoring without any hair loss. So what I visited Amsterdam a couple months ago, and that was the first time I was in pretty much the bike capital of the world. But there were these type of bikes that were everywhere, and there's a great video on it. It goes for about 10 minutes, but it gives you an understanding of just how engrossed the culture is in non-motorized travel and how we might be able to make it happen here with a few tweaks. But let's get this going.
We returned to Canada after many years of being abroad.
Whoops, I just got to the end of it.
I'd like to thank Ms. Worst
Sorry, it's all done. Okay. Let me get this going.
abroad. We had been living in several countries and in cities that were walkable and had high-quality public transportation. But we knew we wouldn't have those luxuries back in Canada because Canadian cities are designed wrong. So before we even got there, I was already researching what car we would buy. I was hoping we could at least drive electric because I personally prefer not to give little kids asthma when I travel somewhere. So, for example, the BMW i3 was on our list, but I'm glad we didn't get that because this car is a piece of garbage. But anyway, after the expense of the move, we didn't have enough money to buy a car anyway, and so we went without one for a while. But then we found something even better. This is a type of bicycle known in the Netherlands as a bakfiets, literally a box bike or bin bike. In English, these are usually just called cargo bikes, but that word can apply to many different types of bicycles, so I prefer to use the Dutch word. This bakfiets became our car in Toronto, and we used it for everything. We even took it with us when we moved to Amsterdam in 2018, so we are probably some of the only people in the world to re-import a Dutch bakfiets back into the Netherlands. These are insanely practical bicycles, and you will see them everywhere here, especially around schools and daycares. I genuinely believe that bikes like these have the potential to be the most important vehicles of the 21st century. One of the unexpected benefits for us was just how much kids love riding in bakfietsen and prefer them almost universally to sitting in a car. And this is really easy to understand because this is what the view looks like for a young child sitting in a bakfiets. You can tell this was filmed by a kid because it's all shaky and on a Dutch angle. And this is what a young child sees in the back of a car. But there is no question as to which one of these is better from the point of view of a child. Riding like this allowed our kids to see the city as we did, and they developed a mental map of our neighborhood as well. They learned where everything was. They learned every landmark and every street name. But this is so much more mentally engaging for a child than riding in a car. Of course, cargo bikes are really nothing new. They have been around for over a century, and they used to be a common sight in cities all over the world, usually as delivery vehicles. The book Curious George Takes a Job, published in 1947, shows this delivery man on a cargo bike, presumably in New York City. But if this book were published today, most people would be more surprised by the cargo bike than the monkey on the bus. Cargo bikes were also very common here in the Netherlands as well, but they became much less common as Dutch cities, including Amsterdam, became more friendly to cars and trucks in the 1960s and 70s. However, in the late 90s, the bakfiets made a comeback as an environmentally friendly and efficient way of transporting children in crowded cities. But these new bakfietsen are not like their cargo bike predecessors. First, they're a lot more agile and efficient, especially especially the two-wheel versions. I really do not enjoy riding a three-wheel cargo bike because they're very slow and clunky, but also because they're really unstable if you turn too quickly. The only time a three-wheel Bach Beats is more stable than a two-wheel Bach Beats is when it's stopped, but the two-wheel versions have great kickstands anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the big innovation that's really driving this comeback is electric assist, because that's what really makes these go from being an interesting novelty to being car replacement bicycles. It's incredible just how popular these bikes have become in some parts of the Netherlands. Any place where there are young children, you will find Bach Beats in. In North America, there's the stereotype of the suburban soccer mom. In the Netherlands, it's the Bach Beats mover. Sometimes that term is used negatively, but that just proves that humans will complain about literally anything. Personally, I am very grateful to live in a city full of Bach Beats movers instead of suburban soccer moms in giant SUVs. Now, there are some nice spots in most Canadian and American cities where you could conceivably ride a Bach Beats, but the rest of these places are, let's be honest, completely car-infested sprawling seats of asphalt. So you do still need a car sometimes. We manage these corner cases by using a local car share program, and I talked about that in a previous video. But even if your situation means you can't go completely car-free as we did, there are a huge number of people who could go from 2 cars to 1 car in a Bach Beats. And there are lots of benefits to doing that, especially financially. This Bach Beats with electric assist cost us about 4,500 Canadian dollars in 2015. This would seem like too much money to many people in Canada because they consider bicycles to be toys or recreational vehicles instead of being a serious way to get around. Yet they wouldn't blink at somebody who spent that much money on a used car, for example. So when people in Canada would ask about the cost of this bike, and they were shocked by the amount, I would pretend they were shocked at how cheap it was and would respond with, "Yeah, I know, right? It costs less than just the options on a new car." And of course, a Bach Beats has minimal operating costs as well. There's no gas, no insurance, and maintenance is cheap. Even a very high-end electric Bach Beats, like the Urban Arrow, cost around $7,000 in the US because they have to be imported from Europe in small quantities. But regardless, any car ownership calculator will tell you you'll be spending anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 per year to own and operate a motor vehicle. That means you could literally buy an Urban Arrow, ride it for a year, and throw it in the garbage. And you could do that every single year, and you'd still come out better financially than buying a car. This Bach Beats has literally saved our family tens of thousands of dollars since 2015. I am not exaggerating when I say that this has literally been the best purchase I have ever made in my entire life. Even better than the CuriosityStream and Nebula bundle that you can sign up for by going to curiositystream.com. All the people who skipped ahead just now because they thought this was a real ad are going to have this ad going to the vet in a Bach Beats. Besides trips to the vet, we would also use this bike for large grocery trips, and of course, taking our kids to school when they were too young to cycle by themselves. We brought our Christmas tree home in the Bach Beats every year, which was way better than using a car because these bikes are so easy to clean. We used it to take home a used air conditioner, an office chair, a TV, even planks of wood. And I take our large recycling and hazardous waste to the depot with the Bach Beats too. In the Netherlands, there are Bach Beats available to rent if you need to carry something large. There are these old-fashioned kind big enough to move a couch. And there are newer app-based services which make it trivially easy to rent one as necessary. Here in the Netherlands, bikes like these are also very popular with daycares for traveling with large groups of children. And I see Bach Beats being used every day as commercial vehicles, delivering packages, or groceries, or mail, or electronics. In the Netherlands, these have absolutely become truck replacement bicycles in cities, and you can understand why. They're cheap to operate, they never get stuck in traffic, and they never have problems finding parking when making deliveries. Commercial e-bikes are becoming hugely important for city logistics. Even Toronto has this Bach Beats delivery service called Nearby. And there are all kinds of designs that are coming to market in the near future, but that will have to be a topic for a future video. Because, yeah, Bach Beats can be used for so many trips that most people think would require a car. I asked for some examples from my followers on Twitter, and even I was surprised by the response. People carry kids, but also adults. Lots of plants, and Christmas trees too. number of other things. I mean, look, if you try, you could dream up a scenario where you could use a car, yet couldn't do the same task with a cargo bike. But in my experience, the number of those scenarios that are actually likely to happen to most people on a regular basis are vanishingly small. And in almost all of those scenarios, you'd be better off renting a cargo van anyway. I cannot stress this enough. With an electric buck beats like this one, you can take almost all of the trips that a normal person living in a city would need to take under normal circumstances. And if we could use a bike like this as a full car replacement vehicle while living in Toronto with kids, even through the winter, then there have to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of families in North America who could reasonably do the same thing. That is, if the streets were safe enough that most people felt comfortable cycling with their kids. But most streets aren't safe, and that's the problem. Because millions of people are being robbed of the opportunity to adopt an efficient and practical mode of transportation that could literally save them thousands of dollars per year. Because we've designed our cities only for driving. And when urban planners try to make the streets safer, their critics use excuses like families and hauling cargo as reasons not to build safe infrastructure. Because those ignorant people can't imagine a bicycle path being used by anyone except physically fit men in their 20s or 30s. But when you actually build safe infrastructure, you get stuff like this, and everybody is better off for it. We need to design our cities for Bach-Fietsen and other kinds of cargo bikes. They don't need to be used by every person for every trip, but they do need to be an option for environmental reasons, for financial reasons, or even just because they're more efficient. That means bicycle paths need to be built everywhere people need to go, and they need to be designed wider. Bike parking needs to be designed to fit these kind of bicycles too, including spots on the street like here in Copenhagen or here in Paris. The Bach-Fiets revolution is coming, and the most successful cities will be the ones that are prepared for it. I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon who pay me to film the cat.
Kevin, hit the lights real quick. So this not only touched on this type of Bach-Fiets in Amsterdam, also, of course, it points out to our issues in this country. This is, again, one of the main reasons why we're taking a deep dive with our active transportation element to try to get communities to adopt more infrastructure to accommodate these type of bicycles. Electric bikes are flying off the shelves of our retail stores. It's going to be extremely popular with these electric assist bicycles, and people are going to find out that you can get around quite easily on them, and hence they're going to use them as primary transportation, and they're going to walk into these roadways and everything else, or ride into them and be like, well, maybe not. So we're trying to change that attitude. And keep in mind, again, I always point out, even in this country, you've heard me say this before, but 45 or 50% of all trips are 3 miles or less. Okay? Half of all trips. You can do that quite easily on a bike. Yes, thank you.
How about a bike lane?
For these things? I mean, the trails or the
Not trail, the bike lane.
yeah, the lane itself in Amsterdam, I mean, they probably have about 6 to 8 foot lanes. But again, I understand that I'm not trying to tell us we need to be Amsterdam. They have a whole bunch of advantages we don't have. Tighter development is number one. You can get around the entire city easily within 10 or 20 minutes on a bike, and it's flat. But we're flat, so that's not much of an excuse either. So we could work that out with the flatness. But again, their infrastructure accommodates all types. And again, I think an ideal path is about 12, 15 feet, which you see over there. You don't see it lower than that because they have so much volume out there. And we just have to accommodate that. Yeah, we do bike lanes here, and they're not exactly very comfortable. And you see that a lot. You just see a bike lane on the side of a busy road. Well, who's going to ride that? Just like they said, fit guys in their 20s or 30s, not much else. But again, we need to accommodate infrastructure that's comfortable as the bicycles that they're riding. So I hope you enjoyed that. Yes, Shannon.
One, I'm going to move to the Netherlands and start a tiny garage building, like a business for little tiny garages.
There you go.
No, I just wanted to ask the group, has anyone had any discussions on these upcoming electric assist bikes, because they're everywhere, and rules on your trails that say non-motorized vehicles because it's an electric motor, it's a motorized vehicle?
The state law defers to local authority on that right now.
Right, that's why I'm asking the other communities.
Yeah, so I mean,
conversation's starting to come up, and I haven't heard that anyone's opposed to it at all. But I took the opportunity to ride one last summer, and they're fast.
Well, they can both.
They are
I
fast.
think Carmel is one of the communities that has a speed limit, 15 miles an hour, that they do enforce. But again,
So, yeah,
enforcement's
so
an
they're
issue too.
functioning. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how you go about that, you're right, as it's evolving, and then what are people riding out there? I mean, the thing that was really annoying about Amsterdam, as much as I love the bike culture, is that they don't know how to regulate the scooters. So the motor scooters are using the bike lanes as well. So we haven't got to that part where people are using
Cars
mopeds
are
on
using
the
our
trails.
trails in Michigan.
Well, it does happen, yes.
No, I just think that should be a discussion that we should kind of keep in the forefront, because Michigan City doesn't have an ordinance, we just have rules,
Right.
which are very easy to change.
You could probably do an ordinance or something to define what a motorized vehicle is. I mean, before bikes, electric bikes became popular, the idea was they didn't want motorcycles or scooters or that type of thing to use to sell it. So I don't think there was any intention to not allow people to ride bikes. But I think you would, on a community by community basis, you could handle it by writing an ordinance defining what motorized vehicles mean.
Yeah, I just see it coming up in the near future,
I think
and
you're
the
right.
questions are gonna start being asked, and how's
There-
everyone gonna address that?
There are Karens in the world that will take issue with this.
I know I want more.
Whoa, strike that from the record, Laura. We like Shannon.
So I like the speed limit idea.
Speed limit idea is practically that, and of course you have traffic calming, speed bumps on trails, things like that, or speed tables, that is, to kind of keep people slow, but you're right, they book. They can
I was
book.
shocked, I felt like I was on a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
What speeds are you talking, top speed?
Could be easy, 30.
30 to
Oh, I'm
35
gonna
miles
say
an hour.
probably 45 on the one that I was on. It had 5 speeds.
Most electric bike owners will top you out at about 30 to 35 miles an hour.
And most-
And it's just as you say, Denny, the technology has outpaced our ability to think and write ordinances.
And in all honesty, I know a lot of riders that are going 35 miles an hour. That's their speed.
So in a lot of states,
Yes, sir.
bicycles are set up, for e-bikes are set up in different classes, class 1, 2, and 3. Classes 1 and 2 are topped out at 20 miles an hour. So you could set up an ordinance not allowing class 3 bicycles, because those are the ones that are actually higher than that. And that's what a lot of states have done. So there are options out there.
Thanks, kids.
Okay, we'll move on to grab bag announcements.
I got one from Shannon, so that's already taken care of. Any other announcements here from anybody? When's your trail opening, John?
This image?
When's your trail opening? When's the Pennsy?
I don't have an announcement on that yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
But we're close, we're like 85% complete, so it's gonna start back up in the spring, so we're anticipating, later in the spring.
Which segment? This goes from Ormond Park to Clark Road, the last segment of
Nice.
Cherville.
Yeah, if you're familiar,
Oh, yeah.
there's a big ditch that we call the Grand Canyon in Cherville, and there's a section that we had to get a little more redesign on, make sure the slopes are stable with some of the grades and that. So there's a couple of challenges, so that's like the last section. We ran out of time this last year, so we'll just pick it up again.
Good looking segment.
Good, it is. Any project updates for upcoming events?
Mitch, are you going to talk about the ready grant and the market green? Is that appropriate in this?
Of course it is, yeah.
Or is it, does that discussion happen in other?
I should provide an update, just for kicks. So, thank you, Dean. You all know about the Marquette Green, I hope. And at this time, we are trying to calibrate all these different funding avenues to make it work. We received almost $18 million last year. It wasn't enough. They undercut us $5 million. And most of that was cut out from the national park, which we found out we can't use. But they told us we could. So it's like, wait, bait and switch test. So the national park had most of the local match. So now it's like we were scrambling with the communities to make this work. So it's been over a year since we've been able to really work with the Federal Highway Department and with the Northwest Indiana Forum on the Ready Line. So you had Ready and Raise going on here. Not that that's
what I
not
meant.
confusing
That's
enough,
what I meant.
Brady, I know, it's,
Raise,
yeah,
Sorry.
we got the raise grant from the feds, we got the ready grant from the state. Not, again, to confuse anybody, because it's a tongue twister, but I just want to let you know that NERC is in the process of hiring an engineering firm to be the project manager. Now, but you have to understand how it works here, I better stand up, how it works here with all these projects I just talked about. When they get awarded, NDOT starts working as the recipient of the money from the feds, and that goes to the communities for reimbursement. Not this time. We received this raise money directly from the United States Department of Transportation, and then when we asked NDOT, can you help us? They said, no. Go fly whatever. We're like, wait, what's going on? I thought you helped people. Nope, you got that. So basically, it's kind of like, we didn't get the grant, you did, you deal with it. And that's where we're at. Now, we don't do that in NERC. We get money from the Federal Transit Authority for the administration for all the bus services that we work with in townships. We don't get federal highway money. This is all new to me. Guess what? It's all new to the feds down in Indianapolis too. They don't get it either. So we're both kind of like blind leading the blind as it kind of started out, but we're finally calibrating. We're finally figuring this out. So we're going to get a project manager on board who can be that person, that expert in our own camp that can oversee the designers. So we have 4 counties involved. They, Porter, LaPorte, and Berrien, that's Michigan. And so we're going to find out how this all plays out once we get the project manager. We're hoping to hire that firm in March, and then from there we're going to get our RFPs out for a designer or designers for the entire trail. Now, putting together all the segments that have been associated with the Marquette Greenway from when we started this project back in 2009, we have invested over $87 million. Either we have it built or we funded. And that's not even the national park. With the national park, it's easily over $100 million project when it's all said and done. So I know you hear about a lot of funding and a lot of projects that go around here, but you hear the double track, you hear the airport, they get in. We're not a cheap ticket either. This is a giant endeavor with bridges and with a lot of different challenges with the trail route going on here. And obviously, costs escalate, but it's going to be a phenomenal project once it's all said and done, finally linking our region from Chicago to Buffalo, right through the national link shore.
You have an ECD,
A what?
expected completion date?
Oh, no, George. No, we have to, we're thinking by 26 or 27 it'll be fully open. We're hoping 26, but again, it's a very difficult project. Using federal money, things take time.
So that fiscal 26, or is this money going to be like NDOT's and be actually 25?
Well, I'm talking calendar year, so 26 maybe. Now, Michigan City is a major part of this project, and we're glad to have you on board with us. So it's going to take some time, but we're moving along, and so I appreciate you bringing that up. NERC is going to finally get a page going on our website that the public can follow along with how this is moving along. Look at how many projects have been completed, how many we still have to do, because a lot of people ask, thinking it's a singular project. No, I told you about the amount of money that's been spent on this project. It includes 50 segments, 50, from the state lines, 50 different projects we've got to work on, either past, current, or future. That's not easy. That's practically all the projects I've worked on here since I've been here for 20 years, all in one project. So, but it's all going to be worth it. So it'll be a phenomenal thing, so thank you for your patience, and I'm done.
Thank you, Mitch. A lot of updates. There are 3 individuals that came in after we started. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Who are you, Don?
Doug Parker, South Shore Trail, is quite welcome request in here.
Chris Lost, I'm emergency like.
George Topple, Union Township trustee and county.
Julio, who are you?
What? City engineer, Reese Scott.
City engineer. Yes, thank you.
Thinking in deep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I put everyone on the spot. Yeah, Jill did.
I'm Jill DiTomaso, I'm the deputy town manager.
Thank you all for being here on a snowy day. Our next meeting is Thursday, April 27th, same time, same place. Is there anything else to come before the committee? We try to keep our meetings an hour or better, so we did that today. Then we had a lot to do.
We did.
So thank you, friends.
We only meet once, every quarter, so we might as well enjoy the time.
So if there's nothing else, Sharon, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. Mr. Vice President.